Another Wednesday is come and gone, and I've got some comics. Let's talk about them. Hey, welcome to 9 Panel Grid. This week, we've seen brutal business dealings, revelations of cartoon lineage, and a return back to the future. But we're going to kick things off this week with Absolute Superman number 9, written by Jason Aaron with artwork by Rafa Sandoval. I'm really excited about this issue because I feel like we've gotten the most character out of Kal-El and the most character development from him. This issue does a lot to explore the character motivations and where he stands in this world right here and right now. Furthermore, we get a chance for Lois Lane to shine here, and I've been critical of her character interactions in the past, where it was kind of like shoehorned in that like her only character beat is the fact that she is a journalist, and that is not true to the character that is Lois Lane. She actually got to go toe to toe with no other than Ra's al Ghul, and that was really fun to see. The colors on this book here, I really feel like complement the artwork. However, they are kind of in service of that artwork, but they feel very monotone. It lacks a lot of contrast. We get a lot of bright reds, a lot of oranges. It's in the service of the story, but it's kind of a hindrance to the excitement. I wish there was a little bit more contrast. Overall, though, I have to say, this is starting to develop into one of the most exciting stories that I get week in and week out, and I'm definitely here for it. Next up, we have Aquaman number 7, written by Jeremy Adams with artwork by Michael Schefter. Adams is taking like a very adventuristic approach on this book here, and I really appreciate it. I feel like we're getting to spend a lot of time with the characters that don't necessarily fit in the greater mythos of Arthur Curry. However, it totally makes sense with the Lady of the Lake and Captain Nemo. He's drawing on literary references, which makes this really, really fun. There's like an Indiana Jones-esque tone to this book, which is like just exciting. It makes me want to keep coming back for more each and every time. The artwork is good, but not great here. I feel like when Timms is on this book, it really shines and it really, like, I don't know, becomes something larger than itself. And this artwork is okay. It's definitely serviceable for the story that's being told. It could, I don't know, have a little bit more meat on that bone, though. I'm excited to see where they're going to continue to take this story. If it continues the tone that Jeremy Adams is delivering here, I'm going to be along for the ride. All right, let's talk Batman Dark Patterns number 8, written by Dan Watters with artwork by Hayden Sherman. This is like a Batman that is obsessed, and it's kind of almost his descent into madness. The kind of arc that we're dealing with here that Dan Watters is crafting is all about the character beats of Batman trying to make patterns where patterns really kind of don't exist, and that's really cool. I like to see a Batman that is imperfect. I like to see a Batman that's kind of working through some of the missteps of his investigation while then putting the pieces of the puzzle together. Hayden is, come on, he's like one of the best artists that are around right here and right now. The artwork, the layouts that he's pushing out are fantastic. The lush line work that he's putting on each and every page with those chunky inks, I really, really like here. Watters is also taking a little bit of time here to bulk out the mythos of Dr. Sirika, and I really like that because in each one of these mini arcs that we get, his character has been pushed to the forefront, and we're really kind of building and seeing out what is going on with this character that has been incredibly creepy each and every issue. So, overall, though, I gotta say, Batman Dark Patterns has continued to be, if not the best Batman book, second by an inch. All right, we're going to talk about Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, Rites of Spring number 1, written and drawn by Patrick Horvath. I really enjoyed the shifting viewpoint of this series because in the very first arc of this storyline, we get to spend a lot of time with our protagonist, if you will, our main character and their motivations and their insights about the acts that are taking place and how she sees herself as villainous, but villainous with morals, if you will. And now we get to spend a lot of time with the sister character of the very first victim that we saw from the very first storyline of Beneath the Trees Where No One Sees. And I really dig that shifting viewpoint here. It's a great juxtaposition for the tone, and it still totally works though, because we still feel the menace, we still feel the dread, and the artwork and the stylings here kind of being in that different vein, that golden book kind of like look and feel to it, totally still works here. Everything that was a strength in the first series continues to shine here. it's just really entertaining. And I think that while I was really fearful that the idea of a sequel could be something that was pushed out from the publisher, kind of like a quick idea, like, hey, this really hit, let's put out a sequel right away, keep people's interest. It feels like Horvath took his time on this and has a story to tell, a meaningful sequel, which is really, really great because I was fearful, I was trepidatious. All of those fears have been put to the side now. This was a really fun, exciting introductory issue to the new characters and the new, I don't know, landscape that we're dealing with after the events of the first series. So, Beneath the Trees Where No One Sees, #1, totally worked for me. Next up, we have Conan the Barbarian #2, written by Jim Zub with artwork by Fernando Dagnino. So Conan is still being held captive, and he's still taking on these gladiatorial games as the villainous character here that's been holding this town basically hostage and making them fight in these arenas. Has gotten Conan, kind of wants Conan to be her champion as she kind of further kind of takes control of this town and hopes to kind of, widen the scope of that. And Conan is kind of playing that role. He's playing the part in order to maybe kind of like at least make his circumstances a little bit safer, a little bit nicer while he plots an escape here. And he plans to also bring along the people that he can while he's at it. It proves to be a little bit daunting, though. Conan is definitely up to the task here. But what's great about this is that while Conan is kind of like a lone wolf character, he usually is just by himself, outside of his romantic allegiances. We get to see that some of the people that he has made allegiances in the past, he's going to have to lean on because they're showing him a level of assistance here that kind of goes to show the level of the character that Conan brings out. He's been there to help people, even if not always in an altruistic manner. That assistance that he shows people is hopefully going to come to pay out here near the end. Dagnino's artwork here is absolutely awesome, by the way. He has cemented himself as my second favorite modern day Conan artist within 2 issues. I feel like what he's bringing to the page is really kinetic, really action packed in a way that is both reminiscent of the classic Conan artists, but also true to something that is more modern and all to it itself. So Conan continues to be exciting, continues to be bold here. Everything you're looking for that Cimmerian barbarian kind of storyline, you're getting within these pages. Make sure you're checking out Conan. If you're not, you're going to enjoy it. Next up, let's talk Fantastic Four #1, written by Ryan North with artwork by Humberto Ramos. So I need to put this on Front Street here. I had dropped the previous run of Fantastic Four, still written by Ryan North. And while I enjoyed the writing and while I somewhat enjoyed the episodic nature of the approach to that storyline, it was the artwork that kind of drew me out. I feel like it wasn't up to the standard of the story that was being told. And that's something that can easily happen. For me, it's usually the artistic quality that makes or breaks a book and makes me either keep it on the pull list if the writing is somewhat subpar, or even if the writing is fantastic, sometimes it could draw me out of that experience. Having Ramos on this book now is the change that I needed here. I really enjoyed this. Can I say it was the most effective #1 issue to introduce new readers to these characters? No, not really, but I think that it was good enough to kind of give you a feel for what the team is going to be and what these individual personality types are going to be. So the issue really splits everyone off, and you see that each one of the Fantastic Four are sent to different times, and they kind of have a contingency plan on how to make sure that they can survive such a predicament where they find this, what they call the Forever Stone, and they're able to carve in their coordinates for the space time continuum. Therefore, the person who is furthest in time can go back and save those who are in the past. So each one of these characters, we get to kind of spend time with them, find out where they're at, how they're going to navigate the situations that they're in, and hopefully see that the team can reunite again. And I think that's the part of the puzzle that's missing here, is that we get the individual personality types, but what we don't get for a Fantastic Four issue is the Fantastic Four. We don't get to see the team dynamic enough, and that's what I really would have liked to see. So it's an effective new #1, and I think that it does the job mostly, but it's a little bit mundane for the kickoff of something that's supposed to be big and bold and exciting and have a little bit of synergy with the new movie that's kicking off. All right, let's talk about a book we haven't had the chance to talk about recently. Let's talk FML #5, written by Kelly Sue DeConnick with artwork by David Lopez. I'm really excited that this book has been able to come back now. It's been on a little bit of a hiatus as they've been trying to get the pages and the next couple issues here ready to rock and roll. We're here now. I'm really excited for it. This picks up with all of our main characters basically being the suspects of a murder that has happened here, and it kind of comes on the heels of who we thought was going to be the actual murderer of a person that happened way back in the past here. Something that really kicks off the series proper as our mother character has been investigating the nature of that murder. She had a suspect, she's writing a book about it, investigating, and then the suspect becomes the person who gets murdered. So there's a lot of cool dynamics that are being played with here, and what I'm talking about seems like they're very heavy tonally, but they're really not conveyed that way in this book. There's a sense of levity to it, and I think that that comes by way of Lopez's artwork. It's so expressive and emotive, and I love that there is a switch and change when you're kind of in the heads of other characters and when they're being conveyed in certain ways. You get like a notebook sketchy version of people kind of explaining how they see other characters, and it's a really fun way that they're conveying that kind of information. It makes for, again, something that is so heavy tonally to be lighthearted, and I think that's what this book needs. It's a little bit different than other things here. It's extremely lighthearted, it's extremely fun, even though it has those circumstances here, which, by the way, don't necessarily get downplayed. There is still consequences to the actions and to the things that are taking place here with them being suspects. But again, it's a balancing act that they're playing, and I think that Kelly Sue DeConnick is doing that masterfully. So I'm really excited that this is back. FML is back in our lives here. If you're not picking this up, consider checking it out. All right, let's talk The Savage Sword of Conan, number 9. Mostly written and drawn by Patrick Zurcher, with a short follow up story by Fabian Nicieza and Sean Chen. So, the vast majority of this issue really spends time with Conan and the pirate Valeria as they grow together through all of the missions and trials and tribulations, and grow apart through the boredom of those same trials and tribulations as they continue to happen, and grow back together. But, you have to kind of read the story to find out how that develops. Zurcher produces some of the most stunning splash pages I've ever seen. He's the artist that's been working on a lot of the Solomon Kane storylines, the backup stories in Savage Sword of Conan, which is now kind of grown out into its own series at Titan. And the same things that he's been producing over there, you get to see those things here for the Conan character proper, and it looks really nice. I really like a lot of the things that he's bringing to each and every one of these pages, particularly the ones where they get to the island and the throne of the Dagon, which they are trying to seek out here to basically stop the drought that has taken over this town. In regard to the Fabian Nicieza story, it's a quick, fun cull storyline here, where it's basically just putting the his troops through the test here, finding out if there's loyalties to be had, and it's a fun, very quick storyline here. Nothing that is really going to change your perspective on the Conan character, but that's kind of the cool nature of the Savage Sword approach with his magazine stylings, is that these are one and done storylines. You're supposed to get in, get out, have a really fun experience, and that's exactly what this delivers. So, was it effective in its approach? Absolutely. Did it offer stunning things? Without a shadow of a doubt. Savage Sword of Conan, I'm going to be here for it every single issue. Next up, we have The Slasher's Apprentice, number 3, written by Justin Richards with artwork by Val Halverson. This is a very quick read, and I feel like each and every issue has been kind of that way, that very quick read. Not to say it's not entertaining, but it's like this, you could breeze through this storyline here and get every single piece of dialogue and all the nuance that you're going to need to get. It doesn't feel as brutal as I feel like it should. The storyline is all about basically this podcaster who investigates murders and tells the story of these murders taking place, and she's kind of become the mentee of one of the older slashers, the older serial killers, and kind of like he's taken her under his wing and shown her different ways as she is trying to also kind of not manipulate, but kind of show him how to become more famous, which might not even be the reason he's doing this to begin with. So it's a kind of a cool relationship that's being developed here. There's undertones of things that are happening that are going to, I don't know, hopefully shape the characters, what's happening with each one of these characters moving forward. I'm excited to see how they continue to, I don't know, build out some of those things. Time will tell on that. It's going to take a little bit more, I don't know, more story development to see where this goes. But I have to say, this does end on a nice cliffhanger here that shows the level of competition that could be coming down the pipeline with all these different killers that are, that could be investigated and part of this murder podcast. So overall, I'm having a good time with Slasher's Apprentice here. I'm excited to see how maybe they wrap this up and kind of finalize everything that's been happening. All right, moving on, let's go ahead and talk about Transformers number 22, written by Daniel Warren Johnson with artwork by Jorge Corona. This delivers on classic D-Dubs levels of excitement. This really ramps things up as we get to spend a lot of time with Optimus as he is just down in the dumps. He is both feeling the weight of the consequences of war and the infection that had overtaken him as he had to basically chop off his arm to make sure that Megatron's manipulation could stop. However, his healing process and his connection to the Matrix has basically been cut off. Therefore, there is no healing that can take place right here and right now. The other part is that we get to spend a lot of time with Megatron, and we get to see how maniacal the Decepticons are and what they can do and how they view this planet that they're on, Earth, and the squishy nature of all of the things that are living and inhabiting this world. On top of that, being that I've seen the Transformers movie back from the 80s, it's kind of cool that we're seeing Ultra Magnus kind of come out and kind of have a spotlight shown on him. It feels like D-Dubs is really kind of like, honoring everything that's happened here while being able to put his own spin on it and not relying solely on recreating the stories that we already know. He's making it new and kind of still honoring the character beats and story things that are going to be happening here. By no means am I a Transformers expert, but I feel like I know enough to see where the levels of influence are coming from, and that's really exciting. So we're getting closer and closer to the end of Daniel Warren Johnson's time here. So I just got to kind of, soak this all in and really get all the enjoyment out of it that I possibly can, because right now it's really good. Next up, we have Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion number 2, written by Dennis Camp and Cody Ziegler with artwork by Jonas Scharf. This was a much better experience than I had with issue number 1, albeit it still feels frustrating with like the character beats that are happening and some of the motivations and some of the actions that are being taken. It feels slow, and it also feels as if, I don't know, like there's not enough happening here. There's not enough quickness to the actions that are taking place, especially knowing the consequences that Miles, infant sister is basically out there, who knows where, and not enough is happening to see if they can kind of get her back to safety. It feels out of character, and it just feels slogged down and very slow. But what I can say is that this is incorporating the multitudes of the Ultimate Universe, so much so that I feel like this is more of a glue type storyline than anything else that we've gotten from the Ultimate Universe. We get to spend time in Wakanda, we get to spend time with T'Challa, Eric Killmonger, Storm, Okoye, but we also get to spend time with Miles as he is there with Hank and Janet Pym, and they're trying to work their way towards Wakanda, where Miles' sister actually is. So we're starting connecting pieces of the puzzle that is the Ultimate Universe more so than any other book that we've gotten so far. That's really cool. Artistically, I'm bummed out because I've seen Jonas Scharf do really great work, particularly on the Conan Battle of the Black Stone storyline, and I really, really enjoyed his artistic approach. And I feel like that same approach isn't being conveyed here. It feels unfinished. It feels rushed. It feels like it's just not as mature as the work that he did at Titan Comics on Conan. So while I was excited to see his artwork here, it just kind of isn't resonating, and it's not fitting with me the same way as it did previously. And I would say that it's actually not even up to the same level as the Ultimate Universe 1 year storyline that we got with his artwork. That felt, again, more cohesive, more here, just more. So overall, this was kind of a frustrating story. It was good, and definitely not great, though. All right, let's talk Uncanny Valley number 10, written by Tony Fleeks with artwork by Dave Wachter. This puts a bow on the storyline that was Uncanny Valley, and I have to say that I was mostly really kind of pleased with the way that they figured everything out here, the resolution that was in place. It didn't have a lot of complex story development or character development, but it's kind of okay. That wasn't the point of the story necessarily. It was about the marriage of the cartoon world and the real world and the people that kind of live between those. It had a Roger Rabbit-esque feel to it, albeit it was kind of flipped on its head, whereas we had a villainous character that was trying to murder the cartoon characters in Roger Rabbit. It's kind of the flip side of that in this whole storyline. It had more heart than Roger Rabbit, but different dangers, and that's kind of cool. I feel like that's the best comparison I can make here is to that Roger Rabbit storyline. So, is it worth it? Absolutely. We get to see the character of Oliver kind of grow up a little bit, albeit it was a little bit of a forced character development as opposed to something that felt natural. But we also get to learn a little bit about his lineage here. We've spent a lot of time with his mother and his grandfather. We didn't know who his father was. If you're kind of interested in that, I would definitely check this out here. And again, if you've been along for the ride already, you got to check out issue number 10 just to get the resolution for this whole storyline and how the cartoon characters are going to hopefully make it out and survive all of the events that have been happening here. So, Uncanny Valley number 10, it did it for me. I think it's also going to read better as a trade as opposed to the floppy issues, though. All right, next up we have Uncanny X-Men 140.5, written by Chris Claremont with artwork by Salvador Larroca. So while this is new to being on stands, this is something that actually was included in part of the Chris Claremont Prestige hardcover thing that Marvel put out for his work on the X-Men title proper. And now it's being released as its own individual issue. And I have to say, it was mostly pretty cool. I enjoyed kind of taking a look back at this time that really kind of takes place right before Days of Futures Past kicks off proper, and we get to spend some time with characters, both new and old, considering that we have characters like Nightcrawler, who's been around here for quite a while here, and he deserves to be part of a storyline that takes place during this time era where they're trying to save Rachel Summers, the new Phoenix, in the future. But we also get to see characters that were introduced much later after Claremont's initial run here, like Sage. So it's a really cool look at all those different characters and all the different things that could happen leading up to the possible future that is Days of Futures Past. LaRocca's artwork, it is really cool in certain parts. In fact, I would say it's really amazing in certain parts. He leans on things that like make you think of artists like Frank Quitely and sometimes even like Mobius. There's like structural things that he's doing within the page layouts that look really nice. However, LaRocca's strengths are also there, or they're there along with his weaknesses, and those weaknesses still come by way of like the facial structures, kind of the plasticky wax statue nature of each and every single one of his characters, and the size of each person's head seems to be a little bit larger than what it would be in real life. So, take the good with the bad. I would say that this is more good than bad, and I really like spending time with these characters. So, is this going to blow your mind? Is it going to change your perspective on the whole storyline that is Days of Futures Past? No. Is it still pretty cool? Yeah, I would say it is. Also, if you're on the lookout here for weird things that happen in comics, make sure to check this out because while it is issue 140.5, each and every issue that I've seen has been titled issue 104.5, which in our heads as X-Men fans, doesn't make sense. And with my runner-up book of the week, let's talk Wild Animals number 1, written by Ed Brisson with artwork by Andy Kuhn. This was a really strong introduction to this character and to the series that's going to be Wild Animals. Brisson can craft a crime drama, and he does it really, really well. This is an example of that. We get to spend time with this character who has kind of been, you could tell, has been bullied throughout his life. He's kind of like not a person that stands up for himself. And in his earlier years, his father was actually gunned down for being basically a police officer who kind of called out corruption and called out some of his other police officers that were involved in some of the criminal activity that was happening. And it was all brushed under the rug to basically hide some of the criminal activity that was happening. Artistically, I love Andy Kuhn's approach on this. It's very reminiscent of artists like Eduardo Riso, who is kind of really famous for the series 100 Bullets, which happens to be a crime series unto itself. So I like the character motivations. I like seeing where the storyline is going to be developing. You can see that this character, at this point in his adult years, has had enough. He's ready to seek out revenge for the acts that have happened to his father. He's ready to kind of take control of his life. That also might be a dangerous aspect as well. Time will tell on that. This is leading up to be something that's really cool. If you like crime books, I would definitely check out Wild Animals. This definitely did the trick for me. And with my top comic of the week, let's talk the Power Fantasy number 10, written by Kieran Gillen with artwork by Casper Wingard. Come on, y'all know me by now. You knew that this was going to be the pick of the week, but I have to say, it's totally worth it. Revelations are abound here as we get to see the backstory about the character who is Magus and kind of the revelation for the cliffhanger that we got at the end of the previous issue. We get to see the storyline of how that all happened and what is going to be happening from here on out. We also, in present day, get to spend a lot of time with the other superpowers as they are kind of starting to try to come to alliances. There's basically something, they're calling a meeting basically where they all get together because they need to speak about the elephant in the room that is Heavy Sun, which also happens to be a superpower. So Aetion, Heavy, Valentina, and now even Magus and Eliza, they're all starting to try to work together here. Albeit, you know that each and every character is going to have their own motivations, their own things that they need to do. And now that Magus, if you will, and Eliza have been reunited, I think that there's going to be some big, bold actions that take place here. The color work and artistic approach by Casper is the same that we get from every single issue, which is to say it's stunning, totally fits the tone and the atmosphere for the work that's being done on the Power Fantasy. I'm excited each and every time that we get a new issue here. It's just bold, it's exciting, it's one of the best comics on stands, and I hope you're reading it because it was totally worthwhile of Top Comic of the Week. So that's what I've got for you this week, but I'm more curious. What did you read and what were your thoughts? Do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe, and be part of the panel. Leave me a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you next week.